Assalamu alaikum. This is your brother, student minister Alvin Muhammad here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I want to welcome you back to this week's edition of the Trumpet on Greenwood, coming to you live from the Greenwood Beat station out of the historic buildings located in the historic Greenwood district. Again, thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of the Trumpet on Greenwood. Today's subject is entitled or titled America's Homeless Crisis. Is Black America's Homeless Catastrophe? America's Homeless Crisis is Black America's Homeless Catastrophe. First, let me begin as I always do with I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. And I further bear witness that we have been blessed with a divine reminder in our midst in the person of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I greet you in the Arabic words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad has warned us in what the Muslims believe that is printed on the back of the Final Call newspaper, as well as his book entitled Message to the Black Man, that we do not believe that America will ever be able to furnish enough jobs for our own millions of unemployed, in addition to jobs for 20 million black people as well. That was stated in the 1930s. Today, we number upwards to 40 million people in America, 13% of the total population. But according to the Unemployment National Equities Atlas, the Unemployment National Equity Atlas, blacks and Native Americans have the highest unemployment rates among all ethnic groups in America. We are asked in our supreme wisdom, what is the population of the original nation in the wilderness of North America? The answer being the population of the original nation in the wilderness of North America is 17 million, with the 2 million Indians makes 19 million. So we should not be surprised to see blacks and Native Americans being kept on the bottom rung of the employment indicators. This is all by design. According to the 2022 report by Statista, blacks have the highest unemployment rate of 6.1%, while whites sit at 3.2%. Blacks have consistently doubled whites in unemployment in America. And in an annual report by the Bureau of Labor and Statistics released in November of 2023, the composition of the U.S. labor force was as follows. Whites made up the majority of the labor force at 77%, while blacks make up only 13% of the labor force in America. We have marched for equality of employment, voter rights, equal education, yet we remain on the bottom rung of society. If we cannot obtain adequate employment, how can we be able to or be expected to provide adequate housing and shelter for our families? Black males in America have the highest unemployment rates of any race, gender group, the lowest labor force participation among all men, mainly due to the large population of black men incarcerated in America at any given time in history. Felonies have become a roadblock to many ex-cons getting a job, but in America, a white former inmate is more than likely to get a job at a felon-friendly industry than a former black inmate, according to a 2020 report on race and the geography of opportunity in the post-prison labor market. Racism in America dictates that a white felon is a safer investment than a black felon in these so-called felon-friendly industries. So it is of no surprise that blacks constitute 40% of America's homeless population and 49% of the homeless families with children in America. We just celebrated Veterans Day. But what many of us may not realize is that 43.2% of veterans experiencing homelessness are people of color. And of that number, 33.1% are specifically African American. Blacks returned home from the Vietnam War facing racism and homelessness in 1975, and in 2023, we still top the charts in homelessness in the home of the brave. We want equality of opportunity. We want equal membership in society with the best in civilized society. This is according to what the Muslims want. But what we continue to receive is a check stamped with insufficient funds. And yet another attempt to reduce chronic homelessness, cities across the nation are now implementing what is referred to as an emergency order of detention. Title 43A of the Oklahoma statutes lays out the circumstances that an individual experience a mental health or substance abuse crisis, or a person whose mental health is deteriorating can be subject to an emergency order of detention. According to Title 43A, there are 3 ways in which an emergency order of detention can be issued. They are as followed. After a full assessment from a licensed mental health professional who feels the person is in danger to themselves or others. 2, a police officer can complete an affidavit describing why the person should be taken into custody. And 3, any citizen can complete an online third-party statement describing why an individual should be taken into custody and submitted to the law enforcement agency, which according to Title 43 would more than likely be the most common method. This is a red flag due to the critical shortages of mental health professionals in America, combined with the disproportionate number of blacks in America that are homeless. Furthermore, with less than 2% of the American Psychological Association members being black, many worry that the mental health practitioners are not culturally competent or sensitive enough to treat a black person fairly. With a lack of genuine police reform as well as effective citizen review boards, blacks who suffer the most when it comes to chronic homelessness will more than likely be subject to a disproportionate amount of emergency detention. Combined with systemic racism and racial profiling that pervades U.S. policies and the justice system, according to a 2023 United Nations report, many blacks will more than likely be targeted with these third-party statements by citizens requesting an emergency order of detention. Again, brothers and sisters, blacks makes up 40% of the homeless population and 49% of homeless families with children. The stated focus of this new initiative is to combat homelessness, is to identify those who suffer from what is defined as anosognosia, which is a neurological condition in which the patient is unaware of their psychiatric condition in other words, they don't even know that they're sick. It is this segment of the homeless population that places the most stress on the first responder system due to their repeated encounters with medical services, while in most cases, these individuals refuse services. Approximately 50% of individuals with schizophrenia and 40% of those with bipolar disorder have systems of anosognosia. Schizophrenia affects 20% of the homeless population, and bipolar disorder affects upwards to 43% of the homeless population. Once again, brothers and sisters, I'm going to keep reiterating this. Blacks make up 40% of the homeless population and 49% of the homeless families with their children or with children. In his groundbreaking book titled A Torchlight for America, published in 1993, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan warns us that the National Institute of Mental Health wants to say that blacks are genetically prone to crime. So they want to promote a drug that they say will curb crime among black people. In 1992, the federal government funded the National Institute of Mental Health with $58 million to determine whether there is a genetic or biological explanation why some, I quote, some human beings are more prone to crime than others. In a report published in 2019, Republican Congressman Andy Harris of Maryland and Phil Rowe of Tennessee met with alternative rights activist Chuck Johnson, who advocates that Muslims and African Americans possess a black violence gene that makes us prone to violence and rape. Fast forward to 2023. Tulsa officials want to follow the example of New York officials in their handling of the increasing homeless population by way of Title 43A of the Oklahoma statute that allows for the involuntary detention of patients. Dubbed the Blue Team Initiative, Tulsa officials will dispatch a team consisting of law enforcement officials and a certified healthcare worker who will decide if the individual's condition justifies involuntary detention. Depending on if the person is black or white, and based on a history of systemic racism combined with the fact that blacks constitute less than 2% of the certified mental health professionals, it is a certainty that blacks and minorities will be unjustly targeted for involuntary detention. As of 2022, black people were admitted to jails at more than 4 times the rate of whites and stayed in jail 12 days longer across a 595 jail sample that was taken. And according to the 2020 Tulsa Equality Indicators dealing with homelessness, white youth who suffered homelessness represent only 13.3% of the homeless population, while Native Americans youth experience homelessness at a rate of 33.4%, almost 3 times the amount. And this is their land. Homeless individuals with disabilities, mental or physical, represent 37.4% of the homeless population, while persons with no disability represent 9.3% of the homeless population. So based upon the above equality indicators, there will more than likely be an uptick in forced detentions among minorities and individuals with mental disabilities as a result of inadequate housing and a shortage of certified mental health professionals in Tulsa. While it is the claim of Tulsa officials to help eradicate homelessness with this Blue Team initiatives, some critics believe that Tulsa and other cities are working to reestablish what was once called insane asylums. Tulsa is experiencing a real estate boom. Housing developments are being carved out overnight, yet city officials claim we do not have enough housing for the homeless. Heck, just a few years ago, Wells Fargo Bank was giving away vacant houses in Tulsa to nonprofit organizations, and the city of Tulsa was auctioning off properties for pennies on the dollar, yet they claim that we don't have enough housing for the homeless. We don't have enough housing, and we don't have enough certified mental health professionals in Tulsa, so they claim. The horrible truth of the matter is that the wickedly wealthy make more money advocating for the homeless than they will ever make providing them with homes. Let me repeat that again. The wickedly wealthy make more money advocating for the homeless than they will ever make in providing them with homes. California, for example, spent $17.5 billion on the homeless problem between 2018 and 2022. But according to analysts, the state could have just paid the rent for every unhoused person in California for those same 4 years, even at the state's high income costs. According to a 2021 report by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, it would cost $20 billion to end homelessness in the United States. The report goes on to say that Americans spends $19 billion on appliances, $35 billion on gym memberships, and $718 billion on military spending alone. That was just in 2019. But the state of Israel has been approved to receive $14.5 billion in military aid by the United States House of Representatives for 2023 alone, and has received $130 billion from the United States over the last 75 years. Do you really think these demons give a damn about homelessness in America, especially when the majority of them are Black and Native American? As the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, somebody is perpetrating a fraud. Tulsa City officials boast about New York City's homeless initiative and are patterning Tulsa's homeless initiative after theirs. Tulsa officials claim that the Blue Team initiative adherence to the procedures for an emergency detainment are critical, and following the legal processes ensures that in critical mental health situations, safety and fairness will be upheld for all individuals. The problem is that New York's homeless initiative is moving the safety and fairness elements that the program is supposed to preserve and are broadening their initiative to make it easier for officials to force detain individuals based on opinion rather than clinical evaluation. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan cautions us in his book, A Torchlight for America, that most of the incentives and many of the laws in the society are corrupt. And according to a 2022 memorandum from the New York Office of Mental Health, Section 9.58, it states, a designated healthcare official may remove or direct the removal of any person to a hospital for the purpose of evaluation, for admission if such person appears to be mentally ill and is conducting themselves in a manner likely to result in serious harm to the person or others. So according to New York, which Tulsa is patterning themselves after, a person is subject to forced or emergency detainment if they appear to be crazy and if it is likely that they may do harm to themselves or others. Not if they are causing harm or if they have caused harm, but if it is likely that they will cause harm. Even more alarming is the fact that individuals who have been targeted for emergency order of detention are to remain in custody until such time as they are stabilized. I'm going to repeat that again. Even more alarming is the fact that individuals who have been targeted for an emergency order of detention are to remain in custody until such time as they are stabilized. You need to think about that. The United States ranks 29th in the world in the prevalence of depressive disorders at a rate of about 5%. It is the largest country on the top list of 30 countries with the highest depression rates, according to a March 2023 report on the most depressed countries in the world. Why hasn't America stabilized its depressed citizens? The United States also leads the world in total number of incarcerated individuals with more than 2 million prisoners nationwide, with the highest incarceration rate being among, now don't be surprised, but being among black men. Once again, blacks make up, brothers and sisters, 40% of the homeless population and 49% of the homeless families with children. So when city officials in Tulsa and around the nation come and say that they want to use forced detentions to fix homelessness in America, like Public Enemy said, we can't trust it. We must understand that America has a history of incarceration, and particularly incarcerating blacks and minorities. So why not focus on building homes and providing homes? If Wells Fargo can come into Tulsa and give away homes, why can't the city of Tulsa, who is auctioning off properties every year, provide housing for the homeless? Most of these homes sit boarded up anyway. The homes that Wells Fargo gave to nonprofit organizations, most of those homes, instead of the churches and nonprofits giving them to the people, the individuals attempted to profit off those homes that were given to them, charging rent or selling them at an exorbitant amount. So we need to be very cautious when the city of Tulsa claims that they cannot provide housing. We can ride on any highway or thoroughfare in Tulsa and we can see that overnight they are building neighborhoods up in preparation for more people moving in. And those homes that they are building are not for the homeless because they're not focused on the homeless. As I stated before, we have organizations who get more money promoting the idea of homelessness than they will ever receive eliminating homelessness in our communities. They can eliminate homelessness overnight with what we spend on war and weapons. We can eliminate homelessness overnight with what we spend on appliances. We can eliminate homelessness overnight with what we spend on healthcare products. But there is not truly a desire to eliminate homelessness because there is profit in homelessness. Many individuals are becoming millionaires, if not billionaires, due to homelessness. So if you eliminate homelessness, you eliminate some of the wealth that many of these wickedly wealthy individuals are receiving. So let us be cautious, brothers and sisters, when city officials come to us claiming that they are attempting to improve the condition of our brothers and sisters and those who are out in the streets who are homeless with this new program. If America cannot solve its own situation, if it cannot remove Americans from the depressed state that we are in, how can we believe that they have the ability to fix this problem? No, brothers and sisters, we must be awakened to the reality that this is nothing more than a program to institutionalize many of our brothers and sisters who are on the streets. They have no intention of fixing this problem, nor have they been able to fix this problem for the many years that America has been in existence. So let us not be bamboozled, as Malcolm X states. Let us not be hoodwinked into believing that their intent is to solve the homeless problem. Their intent, their wicked intent, is to fill institutions with individuals that they have no desire to deal with. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for tuning in to this week's edition of the Trumpet on Greenwood. I want you to share this information because they are plotting to incarcerate our people. Black people and Native Americans represent the highest number of homelessness in our community. So when they are coming in and seeking to incarcerate those homeless individuals, know that they plan to incarcerate our brothers and sisters. So let them know that we're watching them. Let them know we don't want this program. If you want to truly solve the homeless problem, stop making money off the homeless and utilize these empty buildings and vacant warehouses that we have in our community to help eradicate this problem. We have enough buildings in our community to do such. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, they were stating, according to a report on homelessness in Tulsa, that based upon one indicator, only about 2,000 homeless individuals exist at any one time. So surely we have 2,000 empty homes in Tulsa, or a facility that can house these individuals until we can get them on their feet, or at least protect them from harming themselves. So again, thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of the Trumpet on Greenwood. I'm your brother, student in the ministry, Alvin Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.